Well, welcome back to the Be Unexpected podcast. And today we have with us the head volleyball coach of Creighton University, Kirsten Booth. How are we doing, Coach?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. And we're excited to talk about the success you've had at Creighton. And I'm sure it wasn't always like that getting started and where you're from. And so, yeah, if you want to share with us where you're from and what stirred your passion for volleyball and other sports growing up.
Yeah. Well, I'll start in third grade. That's when I moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, which is where I spent most of my time. And I graduated from Lincoln East. I was actually one of those kids, like many, that was in lots of different sports. And by the time I got to high school, my top sport was tennis, actually. And that's what I probably was going to play in college. And picked up volleyball a little late, but loved the team aspect. So by my senior year, I'm aging myself. You guys won't even appreciate this. I sent out 10 VHS tapes to colleges for volleyball and 10 for tennis. Made a decision January of my senior year. Again, a lot of athletes, that's way late now. And decided to do the team aspect of volleyball. So I went to Division II institution, Truman State in Missouri. Played volleyball there for 4 years. Got to start each year, and it was turbulent in a lot of different ways, but it was great in different ways too. And then after I was done, I went to the University of Iowa to get my master's degree, and I helped out there for a year. There was a coaching change, so then I did some high school coaching, assistant high school coaching. Great experience there for a couple of years to finish my master's. Got married during that time, and then landed at Kirkwood Community College, which is a junior college in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Mm-hmm. And I knew nothing about junior colleges at the time, and I fell in love with it there and have so much respect for how important junior college, community colleges are, both for not only athletics, but just what it does from a trade standpoint and allowing a lot of first generation, especially students, to go on and get their bachelor's degree. And then I was 27 and young, and Creighton was clearly desperate. And I was fortunate enough to get hired for the Creighton job, and fortunately have stayed here ever since.
Well, that's really cool. So when you were at the community college, did you have to do a lot more than the average head coach, because community colleges are smaller? What are some of the jobs you had at a community college that usually a volleyball coach does not do?
Well, I'll start with it wasn't even full time. So They did have me a full-time job. I did have a full-time job at the college. So
Okay.
I initially started the first semester I taught, and I enjoyed that. I taught resume writing and things like that. And then they were able to have more flexibility. I moved into HR, and I was kind of their wellness coordinator. So I did events. So you're doing that all on the side. And then coaching. And I remember I had two assistant coaches that got paid $2,000 each, which is less than a high school assistant coach would make.
Oh, wow.
And so that would be the big chunk. I was doing another job. But yeah, you had to do everything. We had an athletic trainer that would come 2 days a week for about 2 hours for all of our sports, which I'm sure has changed now, but this was a while ago because liability, they'd never allow that now. And I am not an expert in that. There was no strength and conditioning, so you're doing that. You're doing academic advising. I remember sometimes if I had a player that was skipping class, sometimes showing up at the classroom, making sure that they had showed up. We'd do study halls on the road sometimes. So, yeah, I think that allowed me to come to Creighton and be so grateful for the incredible resources that we have here and appreciate the people that are doing a lot of those jobs and how valuable they are to the program.
Yeah.
Wow. So going back to growing up in Lincoln and doing tennis and stuff, did you always know that you wanted to become a coach, whether that was volleyball, tennis, or whatever sport? And what was there a specific parent or coach at Lincoln East that kind of stirred you onto that?
No, I had no idea I wanted to coach. It was more of I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I got through undergrad. I was actually a communications journalism major. I'd done some internships in college, writing and doing some things, and realized I didn't want to write that much. I don't mind writing some, but I didn't want to be at a newspaper or something like that. But I did an internship my junior spring with the Department of Higher Education in Missouri. I'd moved to Jefferson City and I'd worked there, and I thought, okay, I think I want to do I thought I wanted to do college administration. So on the academic side, maybe a dean, maybe even a president, something along those lines. And I was thinking I'd probably go get my PhD. But long story short, I also was still interested in coaching. So when I actually got my master's, it's in higher ed admin, but also athletic administration. So I thought maybe I wanted to do athletic admin. But I wanted to stay involved. And so I started coaching. And, I always say, even now, I'm not sure what my career is going to be, but I guess I've figured out that I am going to coach for a while. So, but it's been great.
So you said like tennis was your main sport at first. What lessons did like tennis teach you that, because it's an individual sport, that you can learn in a team sport usually?
And prior to that, I did swimming really competitively.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I was doing that up to about 4 hours a day, and that was when I was 12, and I was like, I don't want to do mornings. So that's when I kind of pulled back in swimming, and I was a gymnast for a while, and I fell off the beam doing a back spring, and I remember thinking, I'm not a risk taker enough to be a great gymnast. I think you have to be really risky to be a great gymnast. So I've done a lot of individual sports over the years, and
Nice.
I think I really liked that, the ability to depend on yourself and work yourself out of things. And I'm usually pretty level-headed, so those things were great for me. But what I missed was I think my mom will always say this when it came down to deciding which one I was going to do in college. I said, I love winning with other people as compared to just winning by myself. So I loved that about the team aspect of, volleyball, basketball. I played a little soccer, not too much soccer. So some of those things. But I think it's great for kids to kind of do both, because if you can't be mentally stable in an individual sport, that's going to be really apparent at different times. You're going to break down. And, I took a lot of pride that I could weather through some tough situations in some of those, a tough tennis match, being down a set, battling back, things like that.
Nice.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'm always watching like those tennis matches that goes for hours and hours. It's like, how do they keep on going and battling?
It is amazing watching like the high level, and I think the piece that people miss is the mental resiliency. They can, lose a really, really tough tiebreaker and then come back raring to go, game one of the next set. And it's a pretty impressive mental state to be able to do that.
Yeah, because like at least like volleyball, you have your teammates to like kind of snap you out of your bad mental state. Where obviously like if you play singles, you're the only one out there.
Yeah, you're it.
Yeah. So you said that Creighton took a chance at you when you were 27. So there obviously they saw something in you. Was there a success at the community college leading up to it, or what was that like?
So a couple things happened that I think are worth talking about. First of all, I had taken the community college program, but it was already good, and we, maybe got a little bit better, but we didn't get worse. So maybe that's the positive. But I think a pretty cool story is when I was in high school at Lincoln East. I was a senior in high school, and Terry Pettit, who is the godfather of Nebraska volleyball, was the coach prior to John Cook. Terry Pettit's daughter was a freshman on my team. And I didn't know her, and Coach Pettit has later said, I was kind to her, and, she was a freshman and I was a senior. We played the same position, and I was kind to her because she was a wonderful and still is a wonderful human being. But that developed Coach Pettit kind of watching me, and then when I came back from college, he let me work some Nebraska camps, which in turn led to him being a reference for me, and that's a huge reference in the volleyball world. So when the Creighton job opened, Bruce Rasmussen, our AD, called Coach Pettit and asked for names and asked for some help in the search. And I was a name that he passed along, and just kind of vouched for my character, I think, more than anything. Mm-hmm. So that got me in the door, and there were just some things, the other candidate, it didn't work out. So long story short, I land with this job, but I think it's such a great example of so many times we interact with people. Maybe this interaction between the three of us is gonna, somehow we're gonna impact each other, and you never know what an interaction is gonna be. And I think it's a testament of trying to be kind to everyone and learning about everyone. And obviously I had no motives as a senior in high school, but that interaction changed the course of my life.
So what was the program like when you got to Creighton? Was it already pretty successful, kind of middle of the pack, end of the conference? What was it like when you got there?
Well, they had some big challenges at Creighton when I got here. The biggest that they were playing in a high school. So imagine recruiting to a Division I institution and saying, "Hey, we're going to go play at, I think at the time, Omaha South High School," which is also red on top of it, right? Like not blue. Um, the program had the year prior had finished 3-23, so it was definitely a rebuild. So, but it had some things that were great. They were going to move to the Civic Auditorium, which you guys probably don't even know what that is. That's where our men's basketball team at that time was playing right before they moved to CenturyLink, whatever it's called now, CHI. What is it called right now?
Yes, I think
And but the Civic gave us a home base. It was fully funded from a scholarship standpoint. And the thing that our administration did was, as we developed the program, they invested more so that we could continue to improve and compete on a national level. And then when we switched from the Missouri Valley to the Big East in 2013, that also gave us a jump. And in 2009, we moved from the Civic Auditorium. We built DJ Sokol Arena and the Ryan Athletic Center, which is our incredible facility now. So it's been I've gotten really lucky that a lot of things have come together and we've been supported as we've improved.
Yeah. Nice. So I'm just reading here like all the consecutive Big East titles, Sweet 16, NCAA tournament berths. How do you year after year consistently do that with the relationship with your coaches and then your players? How does consistently sustain that for a period of time?
Yeah, it's hard. It's diligence every day. I think one thing that we take a lot of pride on within our staff is that we work all the time. We're not going to have a good recruiting class and take 3 months off and be like, we don't have to worry about recruiting for a while, or we had a good year, we don't need to train as hard this spring. We really talk about when good things happen, how do we use it as a stepping stone to be better, so I think we really protect our culture within our program, and I think culture is something that can change very quickly, and so you have to continue to talk to your athletes and your coaches about what our culture is, how do we protect it, if crisis hits, how are we going to manage it, if we have conflict, how are we going to manage it. So we talk about that a lot, and trying to recruit young women who understand our culture and are going to buy into being team before self type players. So those are things that are really important. And then the one thing that I have done really well over the years is I've hired well, and I've surrounded myself with people way smarter than me and are high character, and it's fortunately helped us do some pretty fun things.
So is there a team like you said, like you guys, they were like 3 and like 20 something when you got there, like what team kind of like broke through, like you went through all this adversity from playing in high school to like you saw your team like overcome that adversity, and now you guys are a well-known program. So what year did that kind of start to happen?
Well, we kind of made an upward slow rise the whole time. We were never snubbed out of the tournament, but around 2008, 2009, we were getting close. We were maybe last 4 out type of teams into the tournament. And then in 2010 was when we made our very first NCAA tournament. And then ironically, in 2011, probably had our toughest year ever from a culture standpoint. Wheels kind of came off. We were just above 500, which was really a big decline. And we really we brought in some people to help us kind of navigate the cultural stuff on our team. And then the next year, I think only lost 4 games. We won our first ever conference title and went to the second round of the NCAA tournament. So it was a really great lesson on hitting, difficult things head on and trying to be proactive. And that group really bought into that. And it was really transformational, both for that group and for me as a coach.
How many years have you guys won the Big East title?
We've won it we didn't win it in 2013, and we've won it every year since. Or I think we've been co-champs a couple of those years, like 2 of those years.
So then what is it like Missouri Valley to Big East? There's like recruiting wise, your pitch, is there a lot of difference? Obviously you're going in the home, building a relationship with the parents and kids, but what kind of different than Missouri Valley to Big East?
Well, I think the big difference, both the Missouri Valley's gone down a little bit, but when we left the Missouri Valley, it was probably the top mid-major league in the country. So it was both of the leagues have good volleyball. So that was not that big of a change. The difference in the Big East was we could sell the Big East name. Obviously, from a basketball perspective, people think, hey, this is a big time league, right? I mean, heck, we won the men's national tournament, won the national championship at UConn this year. But what we can also sell is the cities, so we're going to these amazing places. So we go to New York City each year. We go to, DC each year, Philadelphia each year. So those things we can sell. The academic prowess of all the schools, it's always good to be with other high academic institution and being associating with them. So we sell academics here a lot at Creighton. So those are kind of the things that we've leaned into.
Yeah. Yeah, going to maybe Evansville versus Philadelphia, New York City. I mean, no knock on them, but that's a huge pitch. Like, hey, we're going to Philadelphia,
definitely.
Evans, this many times a year. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely a huge pitch.
So, what have you noticed, like, just through recruiting? Like, obviously, you try to recruit the best players for your team, but, like, locally, like, have you seen, like, just an uprise in, like, the talent of Nebraska girls high school volleyball over the years? And, like, is that kind of a main goal for you to just recruit locally first?
Well, I will tell you, the state of Nebraska is remarkable in volleyball. And I credit Terry Pettit back in the 80s. I mean, he'll tell stories of going door to door selling season tickets to build that fan base. So what that's created is we not only have great college programs. So you look at the University of Nebraska, obviously they're a powerhouse. We have great volleyball. UNO had won, a national championship at the Division II level and now is emerging as a great Division I program. Kearney has won national championships at the D2 level. Wayne State's been a top 5 program. So, and I could go on and on of the great volleyball. So that produces, think of that in the long term, that produces a bunch of great coaches. So those guys go on and coach high schools in the state and coach clubs in the state. So yes, I wouldn't say it's just been an emergence now. So in fact, like our very first recruiting class in 2003, well, it was the 2004 class, was 5 Nebraska kids. And we were a top 50 class in the country just with Nebraska kids. And that's when we started, we thought, how do we build this thing? I'm not going to be able to get a kid from Arizona who's a stud when we're 3 and 23 to come to Creighton, but I might be able to get a kid from North Platte to take a risk that wants to come to Omaha and knows Nebraska. So that's how we built things. So we always start regionally still to this day. Our roster is going to be a lot of Midwestern kids, Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, South Dakota. And then we will recruit nationally. We now have the name recognition that we'll pull kids, a kid here or there from all over the country.
Yeah, a lot. Like one of while I graduated, so the Gieselmans, so at Midland, their volleyball program is really great, and so just so many different things in the state of Nebraska volleyball has been really cool to see.
Did you know Coach Gieselman was my assistant for the first 7 or 8 years of the program?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I did not. Wow, that's
So when I talk about I hired well, that is a perfect example. I learned a great deal from Paul, and he's gone on to Midland and done just amazing things.
Yeah, for sure.
So where are you guys at right now with leading into summer stuff, training? Are you guys do like a summer trip, or what's that like?
So in the NCAA, you can take a foreign tour once every 4 years, and we haven't taken one for 6 years because of COVID, and we are taking one this year. So the players actually return back toward the end of May, and we'll train for just over a week, and then we're going to Italy and a couple days in Slovenia for about 11 nights. So that's pretty exciting. All of our new freshmen and our grad transfer, one of our grad transfers is going to be able to come in and join us. So we're really pumped about that. And then the players, some will stick around in June, some will go home at that point. And then I think for the most part, everyone will be back in the month of July. We can't work with them in the summer other than this foreign tour. That's an exemption. But in July, they can work out together, and then they can work with our strength and conditioning coach. So they'll do that in the month of July until we get started in August.
Oh, wow. So you can't work with them, like you as head coach, you won't see them till like August probably?
Well, the exemption this year is because of that trip. So I will get to work with them this year. But most years, they can swing by the office. But as far as if they're like, hey, could you help me with my arm swing? Nope, can't do it. Yeah.
Wow, so like probably like Gieselman, like he probably like at the NAI level. I bet you wish sometimes you had those rules where you can
Yeah,
just
NAI has no
yeah,
rules,
like
right?
like
Now,
you
there,
can just practice whenever.
basketball has some exemptions on this. So basketball does get to work with their athletes. They have certain numbers of hours. So but in volleyball, that's the rules.
Okay.
What are some of the? Obviously, you're sure you're still very busy. So, is it like recruiting stuff that you guys will do during the summertime, or like take a break, or what's that like?
Yeah, I keep hoping maybe break, but no, yeah. No, there's a lot of different things. There's
Yeah.
recruiting is actually a big piece. And recruiting's not just going out to recruit. There's lots of correspondence that goes along with recruiting. It's talking to club coaches. It's, doing your due diligence on kids. So there's a lot to that. And then there's obviously the travel. We also do a lot of camps in the summer. So our camps have fortunately gotten pretty big over the years. So there's tons of prep. My assistant coach, Angie Oxley Barons, takes a lot of the lead on that, getting all that prepped. So that's big. And then, you're prepping for the fall. So there's lots of prep to make sure that you're ready to go so you can hit the ground running when they arrive.
The season starts in August, right? First game starts end of August or middle.
Yeah, they'll arrive usually August. I don't remember exactly, 7th or 8th, I think this year is when they arrive.
Okay. So throughout your coaching career, are there any players like have you seen gone through adversity, either on the volleyball court or just in their personal lives that really inspired and motivated you? Like, if they can overcome adversity, then so can I.
Yeah, gosh, putting me on the spot. I mean, there's kids that go through. I mean, I've been here a long time. There's a lot of things off the court that things happen in college, and some of these can be scary things, and some of them can be divorce, some of it can be death, some of it can be, a stalker, so you help navigate this with these young women, and yeah, the strength of them being able to, deal with it, maybe cry and be upset, and then, circling back soon after. And I think the thing that kids have at the college level now that maybe they didn't 15, 20 years ago is there's lots of resources to help, but you have to be brave to go access those resources, right? So, you'll talk to some kids, we want to hook you up to maybe talk to somebody. Are you up to talk? Some say no, I think it's brave to say, yeah, I think I do need to talk to someone, and, allowing them to kind of talk through whatever issue they're going through and navigate that and come out on the other end. And I have many examples of kids that went through varying degrees of things, and then come out on the other end and are healthy, happy, productive people that are, having a great life.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true with the access to help, but you got to take a step yourself too. So yeah, going forward with your scheduling. I know that it's always cool to see like Creighton and Nebraska play, but is there any other games like throughout the years that will stick out to you, like NCAA tournament games?
In our history?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking
Yep.
Oh gosh, there's lots. We won our first conference title ever in a 5th game, close match against Wichita State at Wichita State, and I can still remember the play that we won it on. That's the first conference title, and I've been working on it for 12 years. That was a pretty big moment. Maybe not 12 years, maybe 10 years. When we beat Kansas, the year that we went to the Elite Eight, Kansas was a top 4 seed, and we were on their home court and beat them 19-17 in the 5th, and just a remarkable match. And that's a memory that will always be there. We've had some incredible matches over the years with Marquette. Marquette's kind of the other, on paper, the other top team in the Big East. And we had 2 5-setters with them this year, a 5-setter to win the conference tournament. So all those are great moments. But I have to say, a lot of the moments that you do remember those moments. I'm not going to sit and say that you don't. And the losses almost hurt more than the wins feel good. And I could list those off too. But the really great part of coaching for me is the relationships with the young women and watching them kind of flourish. And, when they have celebrations in life and they, you're one of the first people they call to say, I just got engaged or I had a baby. Those are pretty awesome things to be a part of.
I bet. So now, what do you like to do? Like when you do have that little bit of free time, Are you able to go watch like your kids' events or stuff like that?
Yeah, I would say that's what I love to do is hang out with my family. I have three daughters, and one's a junior in high school, one's a freshman, and one's a fifth grader. So they are active and busy, and we're
Yeah.
running around chasing them. So most free time is spent trying to, corral them and spend time with them for sure.
Do you get more nervous watching them than you do coaching your own players?
I really don't get too wrapped up on my kids unless it's the big, club volleyball, for instance. To me, that is just about learning for the most part. Maybe at nationals, if they were to make it to the top 8, I'd start to feel that like drive of like, oh, well, this could be cool for them.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I see club as a developmental step. The state tournament's exciting, in any sport. So I do get kind of fired up. I mean, not that I don't get fired up, but I don't get real emotional. I just want them to, I want them to be good teammates. I want them to enjoy it. I want them to deal with great moments. I want them to deal with difficult moments. And, I think there's so much to be learned in sport, right? The good and the bad. And I kind of want them to have the feels of all of that.
Yeah,
Sure.
true. Well, hey, thanks for joining us today and just sharing us about your story and the success you've had at Creighton and what's next forward. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Really impressed with both of you.
Thank you.